So picture this scenario, right? Bushra walks into the office, finds her business partner, Lila, and says, "Hey, how was your day?"
Okay.
And Lila looks up. She seems a bit down and replies, "It was okay until Sarah came in. She's leaving, going to a competitor."
It's tough.
Yeah,
Especially if she's good.
exactly. Bushra's reaction is, "Oh no, Sarah's great with customers. Her work is terrific." And when she asks why, Lila says, the usual suspects. Better benefits and more opportunities for advancement.
The classic reasons. Happens all the time.
It really does. So Bushra's first thought is, okay, we need a replacement. Like now, I'll call the agency tomorrow.
The immediate fix reaction.
Right. But Lila, she's thinking more long term. She says, hold on, maybe we should actually take a beat here. Think about what we really need. Maybe it's time we planned a proper hiring strategy instead of just, scrambling every time someone leaves.
And Lila's really onto something there. That strategic pause is critical.
Absolutely critical, isn't it? Because what happens after someone leaves, or frankly, even before someone joins, it really shapes the whole future of a business. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Our deep dive today, it's all about human resources management. And our mission, well, it's not just listing definitions. We want to pull out those real aha moments from the articles and notes you've brought.
Yeah, the practical insights.
Exactly. How do successful companies turn these staffing headaches into, genuine opportunities? How do they really manage their people from day one, hiring right through to keeping them, helping them grow?
And the source material we've got is pretty comprehensive. It covers the whole life cycle.
It really does.
Yeah.
Planning, staffing, how people get paid, benefits, performance, it's all in there.
That's right. And fundamentally, human resources management, its core purpose isn't just paperwork. It's the strategic engine, making sure you have the right people, that they're productive, they're paid fairly, and crucially, that they're satisfied.
Satisfied, yeah.
Because, the insight here is that when HR gets this right, it directly fuels a more successful, more profitable business. Happy, engaged employees, they don't just do the job, they innovate, they go the extra mile.
That's a really powerful frame, and it kicks off way before you even post a job ad, right? With that first super critical step, planning and job analysis.
Absolutely. Long before the hire.
It's easy to think hiring is just like filling an empty desk, but the sources really hammer home that it's a major, careful decision. Why? Well, because an employee's salary, that's a fixed cost.
Right. It doesn't fluctuate with sales or output. You pay it regardless.
Exactly. Boom times, tough times, you're paying it. So the big takeaway here, each hire is a significant ongoing investment. They have to add more value, more profitability than they cost. Otherwise, it hits the bottom line. Simple as that.
It's a fundamental calculation. And that thinking extends to how companies classify their people.
Yeah.
You've got your permanent employees. That's a long-term commitment. The expectation they'll stick around as long as the business is doing well.
And they feel more part of it, maybe.
Often, yes. That integration can really build loyalty, boost productivity. Then you have temporary employees, hired for specific jobs, specific times. They offer amazing flexibility, much more control over resources. Think busy seasons, special projects.
Super useful there.
Invaluable sometimes. And then we distinguish between full-time, usually, 40, maybe 48 hours a week?
Yeah.
And it's interesting how this varies globally. Like, the sources point out Saudi Arabia's max is 48 hours, but it drops to 30 during Ramadan for Muslim employees.
Wow. Okay. So HR needs to know local laws inside out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's complex. And of course, you have part-time employees too for shorter, more flexible schedules.
That's a really key set of distinctions because, okay, before you even think about writing that job description, HR is doing its own deep dive, right? This job analysis.
Exactly. It's a specific study.
So they're looking closely at every single duty the job involves and the exact skills needed.
That's a goal. They gather this info by watching people work, talking to current employees, managers. It's detective work almost.
Oh.
And it's not just ticking boxes. This analysis tells them precisely what skills are missing, what the role truly needs day to day. And then they decide, do we need temp or perm, full-time or part-time? It informs that core decision.
Okay, that makes total sense. So once HR has that super clear picture, how do they actually find the right person for that specific role?
Well, that detailed groundwork is key. Without it, recruiting is just like throwing darts. So the recruiting and hiring process starts. And sources stress, you got to be careful, methodical, saves time, saves money in the long run.
Right.
It usually kicks off with the application process. You get the applications, the resumes.
Okay.
They're like initial filters. And then the really important bit, checking the info, calling references.
Due diligence.
Absolutely. Then you move into selection. Interviews, maybe some specific tests, depending on the role. Some companies even bring candidates in, let them see the place, meet potential teammates.
Get a feel for the culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole aim is to make that final offer to the person who's the best fit, not just on paper, but for the team, the company, everything.
And getting the offer, that's not the end, is it? It's really just the start of making that investment work, that final step, new employee orientation.
Crucial step. Often overlooked.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's not just, signing forms, though there's that administrative side, pay, benefits, setting up records, all that.
You get the paperwork done.
But the real gold seems to be the supportive part. Training days, maybe pairing them with a buddy, an experienced mentor, someone to answer those newbie questions, help solve little problems, build their confidence.
That mentoring piece can make a huge difference in how quickly someone ramps up and feels comfortable.
Totally. And to make sure it's all working out, lots of companies use a probationary period, right? A few weeks, maybe months, just to formally check in on performance, confirm it's a good fit for everyone.
Yeah, it's a sensible checkpoint. And, connecting this to the bigger picture, the sources bring up this really interesting business insight about upskilling the workforce, especially referencing Saudi Vision 2030.
Okay. Tell me more.
Well, it basically argues that the success of any big national plan, really any major company initiative, it all comes down to people. Current folks, future generations.
Makes sense.
So the emphasis isn't just building roads or buildings. It's investing heavily in human capital through things like the Human Capability Development Program. And this isn't just job training. It's about values, basic skills, future skills, lifelong learning, innovation.
Wow, that's broad.
It is. And also the Time Here program, specifically giving grads that vital workplace training. The idea is equipping the whole population to compete globally. It's a fundamental investment in the workforce itself.
That's a really powerful link. And it ties back to our starting point with Sarah, because one of the biggest drivers for employees and a huge lever for businesses is, money and benefits, compensation.
Absolutely.
But it's way more than just cash for hours worked, isn't it? The sources frame it as like the company's most direct signal of how much they value an employee. It's a strategic tool. Get it right, you attract stars. Get it wrong,
they walk. Yeah, it's critical. And compensation usually breaks down into two big chunks. First, salary and wages. That's the direct pay, hourly, weekly, monthly. Most visible part.
Right, the number on the pay slip.
Exactly. Second, and often trickier, are benefits. This is the compensation that isn't direct payment. Things like insurance, paid time off, retirement plans, maybe even gym memberships or wellness programs.
Okay.
And the key insight here, while it's not cash, benefits often make the real difference. They're what set an employer apart, what builds loyalty, what impacts overall well-being.
So how do companies actually decide how to pay then? You've got the simple methods like time wage or straight salary. You work the hours, you get paid a set amount. Pretty clear.
Simple, predictable, easy to manage.
But then you mentioned incentives. It gets more interesting with incentive systems, right? Where pay is directly linked to how much or how well someone performs.
That's where it gets dynamic. For instance, commission. Salespeople often get a percentage of what they sell.
Like real estate agents, car dealers.
Exactly those kinds. Or you might have a piece rate. You get paid a specific amount for each unit you produce. Maybe per garment sewn, per call handled, per claim processed. You see it in manufacturing, service centers.
Right. So it really pushes output. But, does just focusing on quantity have downsides? Like, what about quality or teamwork?
That is the potential drawback. If it's purely piece rate, sometimes quality can suffer or people might not help each other out.
Yeah.
That's why the base plus incentive system is often really effective.
Okay. How does that work?
You get a guaranteed base wage or salary, providing security, plus an extra amount tied to performance. And a great example the sources mentioned is profit sharing.
Yeah. Heard of that.
Employees get their regular pay and a slice of the company's profits. This is powerful because it aligns everyone and encourages commitment, real teamwork, doing a great job overall, because everyone benefits when the company does well.
That makes a lot of sense. Everyone pulling in the same direction. And speaking of big investments, let's talk employee benefits. The sources really drive home the costs, like an extra 20 to 40% on top of wages.
That's huge.
So if someone's earning, say, 100 reals an hour, add 30% for benefits, suddenly the real cost to the company is 130 reals an hour. That's a massive commitment. Benefits aren't just a nice to have, they're a core part of the total cost.
So a massive but often essential investment for attracting and keeping good people. And some benefits are legally required in most places, right? Like paying overtime, contributing to Social Security, workers' comp for injuries.
The must-haves.
Exactly. Then you have the popular, highly valued ones, comprehensive insurance plans, health, dental, disability, and again, it varies. The sources note, for instance, Saudi private sector companies must provide health insurance for employees and their dependents.
That's a significant local requirement.
Vary. And paid vacations. Another big one. Saudi labor law mandates 21 days annual leave. It costs the company, no doubt, but the payoff, happier, less burnt-out employees who come back refreshed and more productive.
Yeah, that break is so important.
Totally. And then there are other things. Retirement savings plans, maybe some personal or sick days, and increasingly flexible work schedules. That flexibility is becoming a really big deal for people.
Definitely. Okay, so we've covered getting the right people in the door, paying them fairly with salary and benefits. But what happens next? How do businesses make sure that talent stays sharp, stays engaged, keeps hitting those company goals long term?
Right. That's moving beyond just acquisition and compensation into the ongoing relationship. And that's where performance management comes in.
Okay, what does that really mean in practice?
It's about managers actively working with their employees, making sure goals are clear and being met, quality standards are upheld, and just as importantly, that working relationships are effective and positive. It's about nurturing that human capital continuously.
Nurturing implies growth, evolution.
Precisely. Because jobs change, technology changes, procedures change. It's constant. So employees have to keep learning, upgrading their skills. That's why training and development programs are absolutely vital.
Not just fixing problems, but building future skills.
Exactly. It's proactive, empowering people for today's work and tomorrow's challenges. It's an investment in future capability, plain and simple.
And how do you measure if that investment in training in the employee is actually working? That must be employee evaluation.
That's the feedback loop. Managers regularly evaluate performance. And HR plays a big part here, developing the processes, the forms.
Standardizing it.
Yeah, ensuring consistency and objectivity. They train managers on how to do evaluations fairly, how to have those sometimes difficult feedback conversations, and HR keeps the records, building that performance history over time.
So what does the evaluation itself actually look like? What are they assessing?
Well, it focuses on the specific duties of the job, naturally, but also on those core work qualities you expect from everyone: communication skills, teamwork, interpersonal stuff, quality and quantity of work, ethical conduct.
The whole picture.
Right. Managers use structured forms, usually, to rate skills, identify strengths, pinpoint areas for improvement. And if teamwork's important, they might pull in feedback from colleagues, too, get that 360-degree view.
Okay.
But the absolutely critical part, communicating the results clearly back to the employee, whether it's a formal written review or a detailed conversation. They need to know where they stand and what the path forward looks like.
That ongoing feedback, that development,
Yeah.
it directly influences where someone goes next in the company, right?
Oh.
An employment relationship isn't static.
Not at all. It can go different ways. You have promotions moving up to a role with more responsibility. That's a key reward for great work and a smart way to keep your stars by putting them where they add the most value.
Makes sense. Keep challenging them.
Exactly. Then there are transfers, moving sideways, essentially, to a similar level job, maybe another team or location. This can offer new challenges, broaden experience, or maybe it's just a better fit for their skills, especially if the company structure is changing.
So not necessarily a step up, but a different direction.
Right. And then, inevitably, sometimes employment relationships end. Terminations. It's important here to differentiate, though. There's a discharge, which is usually due to performance issues or breaking rules.
Firing for cause, basically.
Essentially, yes. And then there's a layoff. This is different. It's a reduction in staff, maybe temporary, maybe permanent, purely because of business needs changing, restructuring, downturns. It's not about the individual's performance.
That's a really important distinction.
Crucial distinction. And whatever the reason for termination, the sources really stress: handle it carefully, legally, ethically, meet all requirements, protect everyone involved, and ideally be as supportive as possible to the person leaving. How you handle exits reflects on your company.
Absolutely. It impacts your reputation, who you can attract later. So, okay, let's loop back. After digging into all of this, let's revisit Bushra and Layla and Sarah leaving for better benefits and opportunity.
Yeah, bringing you a full circle.
It becomes crystal clear, doesn't it, that really strategic HR management, thinking carefully about job analysis, getting compensation and benefits right, managing performance consistently, it's not just some back office function. It's like The absolute foundation for attracting, keeping, and developing the most vital asset any business has. It's people.
Couldn't agree more. It's not just about filling roles or running payroll. It's about building a strong, capable, high-performing organization. A place where people aren't just showing up to be productive, but they're actually satisfied, they feel motivated, they want to contribute their best. That's the competitive edge.
That really is the difference between just surviving and truly thriving. Okay, that's a really powerful note to end on. And it leaves us with something for you, our listener, to think about. Given everything we've discussed today, all the pieces of the HR puzzle, the importance of benefits, growth opportunities, how performance is viewed as just getting a good wage or salary actually enough for you, enough to be truly satisfied at work? Or do you, maybe like Sarah in our story, expect something more from your employer, from your career, something, beyond just the paycheck? What really makes the difference for your own job satisfaction and your commitment long term? Something to mull over.